Welcome once again to Gabriel Music Notation. I'm your host, William Tapley, the creator of Gabriel Music Notation. This is part 2 in my series on the obstacles I have encountered while trying to explain to musicians the advantages of my new system of printing music. In my last program, I reported how recent articles I have submitted to music education magazines have been totally ignored. The editors do not even bother to send me rejection notices. Either they do not understand my system, or they do not want to understand it. However, to give them the benefit of the doubt, perhaps they do not see that music theory and design theory are two separate disciplines. They may understand music, but they do not understand design. Furthermore, most of the famous music schools and universities are equally close-minded. 2 years ago, in July of 2023, I contacted more than 200 schools of music and other major institutions of higher learning that offer music degrees or have prominent music departments here in the United States. Would you be interested to know how many of them responded? It's hard to believe, but again, not one of them replied to my correspondence. You would think that at least music colleges and universities would be open-minded to a new system of notation. But again, I may be misjudging them just because they are ignorant of how to proceed with fixing music notation. To be fair, music notation, as I said, is a design that has nothing to do with music. Thus, we face a big problem. Musicians who try to create new systems of notation are not sufficiently educated in the arts. They don't understand that improving music notation requires improving the visual design of music notation. Fortunately for me, I spent all my working life behind a drafting table. I was employed for 26 years as a product engineer for the Ethan Allen Furniture Company. I am strictly an amateur as far as performing music, but I am highly proficient in engineering design. Since I took my piano lessons for only about 8 or 9 years, maybe that is why I am not accepted by the music community. Do they feel that one of their own must be the one to improve music notation? Despite their overwhelming negativity, let's continue where I left off in part 1 of this series. Even though the note heads of my new 12-tone chromatic scale, see figure 1 at the bottom, are closer together to accommodate the 5 additional black keyboard keys within the same vertical staff space, they are easier to identify because the notes for the black keys are differentiated from the notes for the white keys by color, size, shape, and position. In other words, I adopted the same design principles that distinguish black keys from white keys: color, size, shape, and position. Keyboard design is so simple and easy to learn that even blind pianists can learn to play well without ever reading any notation. Keyboard design was my inspiration for creating Gabriel Music Notation. Notice that only the notes for A, B, E, and F are accurate, as transcribed in our standard music notation system, shown at the top of figure 1. Please pause this video if you want to study this important characteristic of standard notation. The other 8 notes must be modified by accidental signs. For those modified notes, you must play either the key above the printed note, or if I had used flat signs instead of sharp signs, you must play the key below the printed note. With Gabriel music notation, this confusing arrangement is totally eliminated. First, notice there are 0 accidentals. What you see is what you play. You don't have to remember any key signatures. You don't have to remember to play some key above or some key below the printed note. Incidentally, we will find this is also true with other unique notes, such as double sharps, double flats, and so on. Second, the successive note intervals form a straight line up and down the staff. In other words, all intervals are depicted as equal, and thus they are visually correct. Since we hear the tonal intervals as equal or virtually equal, why should the notation show them variable, as in standard notation? Moving on to figure 2 at the top, the notes for A sharp, A flat, A double sharp, and A double flat all occupy the same space in standard notation, but they are all sounded by different keyboard keys. However, with Gabriel, figure 2 at the bottom, again, all intervals are visually correct. You can tell at a glance which notes represent the white keys and which represent the black keys, because the 3 white note heads represent 3 white keys and the 2 black note heads represent the 2 black keys. Gabriel music notation, as based on the keyboard, is far more logically designed than standard notation. Conversely, just as notes at the same staff location in standard notation can represent notes with different tonal values, sometimes the opposite occurs, and notes with the same or virtually the same basic tone register at different staff locations in standard notation. See figure 3. A double sharp, B, and C flat, all of which have very close tones, are all sounded by the same B key on a keyboard. Now, for those instruments that can differentiate between those tones, the C flat tone shows 1 dot within the white oval, while 2 dots within the white oval form a double sharp. Not only is Gabriel music notation more logically designed, but it is also far more accurate. Now, this concludes part 2 in my series about the different obstacles I have faced in convincing musicians about the advantages of my Gabriel music notation system. In my next program, I will discuss in depth the design of my new Gabriel staff, which registers the new 12-tone Gabriel chromatic scale. If you would like to contact me, please write William Tapley, Post Office Box 291, Osage, Iowa 50461, or visit my website, thirdeaglebooks.com, and there should be a link below where you can download many examples of my system. At the top left corner of my website, you will find an order form, which includes paperback copies of my 4 books, which also explain my invention and are currently available. Let me show you what they look like. Volume 1 is called All Keys Are Easy. Volume 2 is Easiest Way to Read Music. Volume 3 is Easy Keyboard for Beginners. And Volume 4 is Christmas carols. You will have to check out the prices yourself, since prices tend to change over time. And I expect this video to be available for several years at least. And I hope to see all of you again on my next Gabriel Music Notation program, which will be number 3 in this series on the obstacles I have had to face in getting my invention out to the incredulous world of music.